welcome. We are off another episode of Booze Your Daddy, the podcast. I'm Dr. Alan Snyder, and I'm here today with one of my favorite people in the world. I know I say that all the time, but she legitimately is one half of one of my favorite people in the world. It is Kara Mbop Hansen. What's up, Kara?
Hey. I was hoping Mbop was going to make it in there. I was going to be heartbroken.
Do you know you're saved in my phone as Mbop? Even when I do a group text with you and Seth, like it says Sarah and Mbop. Yeah,
I would hope so. That is, I mean, actually Mbop, because Hansen got really big when I was in like middle school, right? So I'm like 7th grade and everyone's dying over Hansen. And I went the opposite way. I was like, Hansen, I hate them. They are terrible. It's terrible music. I'm not associated with them. I don't know anything about them. Like, I'm definitely not related. Absolutely not.
So you went the opposite way of that. But then later in life, when I was so eloquently invited to your fantasy football team, your team name was Mbop. And I don't know most of the people in your league. And even when I start to meet them as I hang out with you guys, I basically am just checking every week to see if I beat you. I actually don't even care about anybody else in that league.
Well, that's because I'm one of the best players in the league.
Of all the players in the league, you're one of them. I think, have you won a championship?
Yes, I have. Last year, I think.
Nobody cares. No.
Yeah, when you're not winning.
It's true. And I actually, it's embarrassing to say, but that league, I don't care about that much. So I just draft like an asshole. And then I usually end up winning, which just proves you're better off doing the opposite of what I generally do. That's how I do so well in your league.
Well, you know what my draft strategy is, right? I do no research ahead of time. I pick based on knowledge of how good of a person the player is. And then as a tiebreaker, how good their smile is.
So not even if they're good looking, it's the smile.
No, it's a good smile and good person. So like Adrian Peterson, he's like out because, you know, he's got bad stuff.
Yeah, but you also, he hasn't been good since that bad stuff. So like, right. Yeah, so you sold the stock on the way down on that and had nothing to do with him beating his kid with a stick.
True, right.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, so Kara Mbop Hansen, you know, it's funny you say Hansen being big in middle school because I was pretty sure you're like 7 years younger than me. I guess maybe we're a little close in age. I just have known you for so long. When I was in middle school, and probably one of the coolest kids in middle school, I'm not going to say any names, developed a crush on the lead singer of Hanson. He came in and was like, oh my God, there's this new band and this chick is really freaking good. And her name's Taylor Hanson. And
stop. I was like, who's the lead singer?
The middle one, the one with the long hair. Yeah. I mean, he looks like, feminine enough.
Yeah. He's very pretty. Very pretty.
Yeah. And then I think he had to cut. Did he cut his hair or was the other one cut the hair?
No, I think the oldest brother cut his hair. And I think they all have a lot of kids now. Like they're all married and like all married young and they have like 4 or 5 kids each. They're living a great life. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that guy that I went to school with, his stock dropped very quickly after that. And then I think he became
It's hard to come back from in middle school. Like you're talking about the cool band. It's a boy and you've called it out incorrectly. Like you got to just go hide in a hole after that.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. So I'm getting thirsty, but I will defer to you. I'm curious what you were drinking. What is your booze?
I have a Revolution Hazy Hero. Revolution in Chicago, which is where I'm located.
Yeah, I guess we didn't talk. Yeah, you're in Chicago, which is why I'm wearing my Chicago Cubs jersey.
Yes, I love it.
Gold Cubs, goal! Hey, Chicago, what do you say?
Are the Cubbies going to win today?
I don't know.
It seems like there's not going to be any season, so.
I am legitimately worried for your fiance. Like, make sure you take away all sharp objects.
He has not been doing well with the news that the season may be over before it started.
Okay, so he's already made peace with it, is what you're going with?
I don't know. I think it's going to have to just be a suicide watch. Like, I'm just going to watch him the whole time and, you know.
Oh, so
I'm seeing like making any moves to sharp objects, I'm going to know.
Oh, jeez.
I know. Like, it's time to get in there.
Yeah, I feel that way about hockey, which, you know, as a baseball fan, the Orioles don't have that much of a chance. But in hockey, my Capitals do. And the season starts really quick. And I have not even put the schedule in. I'm waiting because it's going to get canceled. I got super excited for UFC back in April, and then they canceled it. I was devastated. So I'm just not allowing myself to get excited for anything until we're getting very close to it. So that you're drinking I'm surprised you didn't show up with a 312 beer.
I forgot about that. It's so tempting to go for the Goose Island 312, but as everyone from Chicago would tell you, It's a 312, and you looked like an asshole ordering it.
I think I said 312, not 300. I said 312.
You might have said 312.
Just to piss you off. So, but I want to tell you about my beer because I got something that I thought was great because this is the Bronx Brewery. So you have a little bit of an attitude. So you could be from the Bronx, maybe. But the name of it is Slow Your Roll IPA.
I love it.
Because I got to be honest, Kara, you basically every facial expression you ever give me when I'm being typical daddy, not even Alan, when I'm just being a straight up jerk, your facial expression basically says, hey, Snyder, slow your roll.
I
Fair?
love that. I didn't know. I have been told I have a very expressive face, and I do feel like sometimes when you're just getting out there, I'm sometimes like, all right, let's see where this goes. But I didn't know that it was straight slow your roll, Alan Snyder.
Well, but I think that's actually a fair statement because it's not resting bitch face because you are one of the best audiences. You smile and you laugh at everything. But it's more like a chill out, bro. Like you're doing just fine the way you are.
Well, I mean, so as I mentioned to you recently, I don't think you knew this about me.
We're going to get there.
We're going there. Okay.
Let's crack the beers first.
Okay.
Go ahead. Release the Kraken.
Release the Kraken.
There it is. Cheers.
Cheers.
To you. Bing, bing, bing.
Chin chin.
Chin chin is what language?
I think it's like a British phrase, but I'm not sure.
Oh, I just talked to a Brit like recently and I didn't ask. So yes, let's go there now because I've had a couple of guests on and a lot of them have been coming with, I'm so nervous. I had somebody who just got baked as a cake and then just giggled for 30 minutes, which was great because that allowed me just to go. And
right.
You are one of the most confident people with this. And the other day I was kind of trying to get you. You're like, hey, podcast is coming up. Get nervous. And I think you said something along the lines of, Snyder, slow your roll. I did competitive theater back in high school. And yes. I didn't touch that. I actually didn't even address that.
Didn't.
Because my mind started swirling. Because
I'm sure.
I, in my head, had a reasonable thought what competitive theater was, but then I went irrational. Now, here is my guess at what competitive theater might be or should be. I imagine competitive theater being kind of like old school, where you have these different events and in a challenge and people go from thing to thing. So I am hoping that competitive theater and the three best events I wanted to maybe incorporate into this challenge is one, how fast can you change out of a costume into another one? So maybe you set up a couple of costumes. Two, putting on makeup. And I mean really getting there because I dated an actress and you think women take long? Actresses and their makeup was an hour to 2 hour process. And then the third one is actually kind of counterintuitive to what you would think. From what I understand, there is something called a slow entrance. And it's almost like, it's kind of like in baseball when Big Papi used to hit these home runs and you're supposed to move around the bases relatively quickly. And he went into a trot that they used to clock was like 45 seconds. And most players, like you and I, could make around those bases probably in like 19 seconds without breaking a sweat. I mean, it's really not that far. So I think the third event in competitive theater should have been, how slow can you make your entrance in to a scene?
I love this. This is all so good. It's
so what
not
is that?
What
is it, though?
But I mean, we could build on that. Like, you could have some games, introduce some, like, a drinking aspect. Like, that would be hilarious. Hilarity would ensue. I mean, somebody should do that. But no, this is not like that. Outside of your first sentence, which was, I assume that people go around to different, like, competitive things. Like, everything was wrong. But... I mean, it brought me back a lot. So yeah, competitive theater, I call it competitive theater because it has a name. It's called forensics. And every time I've ever said that to anyone, they've just been like, wait, so you're like, looking at dead bodies or whatever, the obvious parallel there. And I'm like, no, it's a whole thing for high school kids.
Also not original, people who make that joke. Like,
no,
yeah. Okay, we're bones. It's, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not the most original. But so the way that it works is in high school, you get all these theater kids and they go to all of the different high schools in the area every single weekend. And you go to these tournaments. And so everybody prepares like a monologue, or like if you have a partner or a group, like you do like a 8-minute or 5-minute like short monologue. And then you like compete with everybody else from every other high school in like different rounds. And like, you get graded, and like as people fall off, you rise to the top, and then you break through to the next round. You keep competing. So I was very, very involved in this in high school. It was like every weekend I would be going to all of these tournaments, which actually I can't believe this hasn't come up in conversation between the two of us, because I know that you like musicals too.
I always tell my patients, I see way more theater than voluntarily than most of my guy friends. And
Yes.
You see them get very excited. And I turn and I say, I also have multiple fantasy football teams that I pay a lot of attention to. And then they start saying, oh, did you see that 3-week show back in 19? And I'm like, time out. I see more than my friends, but I still have way more football and sports on my hands than possible. And they realize that, okay, I'm not down to talk that much theater to them. I'm just curious because I know you also sing, and I'm definitely not going to put you on the spot. But from what I understand, you don't really love singing in front of people. You just like more the acting aspect?
No, actually. It has everything to do with the size of the audience. I hate a one-on-one performance. That is where I feel very uncomfortable, or a small group. But if you put me on a stage in front of like 10,000 people, like game on. Like I won't, that is good for me. Like I feel very comfortable there. It's very much less personal. So I think that like when you're on a big stage in front of a lot of people, like you're not really thinking about the people, but like if it's me singing to you, Dr. Alan Snyder, like I'm terrified that you're not liking what I'm doing.
Yeah, I actually feel the same way to you about that. I could perform to as many people as possible, but if you put me in a room with 4 or 3, 2, that's when I actually get pretty, unless I'm in a position of power, but I get pretty nervous in front of the less people. But maybe we'll change our mind. They're very interesting. So I'm glad you're not that nervous.
Yeah.
Now, I'm actually worried. Now, well, the other question I had was, and I think I might know the answer, are you a triple threat? Because it's singing, acting, and dancing, except I've been to enough weddings that you've been. I don't think you're the triple threat, right? You're competent. You're competent on the dance floor. But
I think that's a perfect way to describe it. Competent on the dance floor, definitely not a triple threat. Yeah, I think singing is what I like the most. Acting is what I'm best at. And so, yeah, I don't know. I really miss it. It's funny that this came up because this is something that like I know myself from high school, and like nobody in my regular life now knows me as like a theater or musical person.
Yeah,
Do you have anything like that? Like, are you ever like were you the Magic the Gathering kid, and nobody in your like real life now would know you as that guy?
So I guess I dabbled in Magic the Gathering for a little bit. It was a summer camp thing, so I know about the mana, and I know about tapping things, and I know about like the doppelganger thing.
Yeah.
I know more about Magic than people would ever think I do. But I guess I'm going to share a story right now that most of my friends probably don't know, and I don't think you know this, but I really wanted to be, this is shocking, I really wanted to be a performer growing up. And I did most of the plays, never in high school. When I got to high school at 13 years old, and I struggled because I was still figuring out my hand from my foot, and then your life is going on. But going into high school, I auditioned to go to a magnet high school to be a theater major in high school, where they gave you 2 hours a week of English, 2 hours a week of math and all the other subjects, and then it was like acting for 5 hours every day. And I auditioned. Cool. They took 20 people into the program, and I got put on the waiting list. I made it through like 3 or 4 cuts. I mean, it was intense. And then I started high school, and I made a couple of friends, and then they called me and asked me if I wanted to come in. And I was like, you know what? I don't know if this is the best decision for me, but I used to perform a lot, and I'm very animated, clearly, so it's probably not that hard. But when I was it was the 7th grade, maybe, my Hebrew school put on a performance of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And I was Joseph, and I crushed it. And it is still one of my family, anytime they're just like, come on, I close my eyes. And I'm like, hell yeah. Drew back the curtain. I loved it. And I do love performing, but I think ending up a doctor, or doctor with quotation marks, as some of my friends would say, maybe have been the right thing for me in the end.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, I get to use my personality in my daily life, which is pretty good. So I'm curious, because you got a lot of dirt on me. I mean, that is not a shocker. I'm curious.
I don't have that much dirt on you. I was having a hard time being like, what is the most embarrassing story I can think of Alan Snyder? And I was having a hard time.
All right, so then I'll just go with the first time we met, and you can correct me, was about 7 years ago when I lived in Hoboken. You came, we ended up doing a little grill session on the roof. And the two things I remember from that night, one was I used the Montreal Grill Mates seasoning on the steak, and Seth just called me out immediately like, oh, Montreal, huh? And he tasted it right away. I was like, yeah, totally. And of course, nowadays you can't, like, you have to make your own seasoning or you have to grill with salt and pepper. And he just called me right out. And I was a little embarrassed that he got that. But the other part of that was you were right at the decision of, I want to get a dog. We're thinking about getting a dog. And I just sat you down and was like, listen, I've known you for about 30 seconds. You're making a horrible decision. And I was more aggressive than I should be, which is not a shock to most of our friends because I don't make the best first impressions. Usually it takes like a fine wine. It takes a couple of times to get used to me. And you then started defending yourself very much. And, I was like, no, you're so not, this is going to be so much work and you don't understand. You're like, we're going to get a dog that's 3 or 4 years old. And Seth just looks at you like, Kara, don't even entertain him. He's just trying to get you riled up. And you're like, I got this. I will handle myself, sir, because I know what to do and I know dogs and I'm this. And the irony of that story is you then got a dog Abby, who is
Yes.
absolutely delightful, but is the chillest dog I've ever met, maybe to a fault.
I think you phrase it a little bit differently if you just want to share with everyone what you say about dog Abby and her lack of motivation, let's call it.
I'm pretty sure that I said, because I came there one weekend and you guys had movers coming over.
Yes.
And there were people going in and out of your apartment doing all types of things. And your dog would just look up and look down. And they could have done anything. And I think my exact words were, I think your dog had a stroke at some point because it's just not reacting to anything.
Yeah, that's how I recall it also.
I'm glad that it could actually be confirmed that I'm not saying like the most un-PC things behind closed doors.
No. I mean, she's very lazy, but wait, I actually wasn't going to tell this story today, but now I'm going to tell it. Did I tell you about the time that she attacked a delivery person?
I don't believe this.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Because every person that I tell the story to, they're like, Abby, no way. She's an angel. She like no energy, doesn't run anywhere. Like her walks are like a block long each. And I'm like, no. She got a taste for some meat. I had like a package being delivered and we have like, we live in a 3 flat. So you have stairs to come up to the front door. So there's basically 2 doors to get to the delivery worker. So I closed our door behind us and then I went down to the bottom door, but I had to sign for something. So I had like my foot like wedged into the door and that little asshole came, like the door opened upstairs from the air pressure or something. She comes barreling down and she just like attacks this person. Now it was the middle of winter in Chicago. It was very, very cold. The lady said she had, several pairs of pants on.
Very cold in the middle of Chicago. You go to Chicago in the summer and I need to put on a bundle up.
Yeah. So Abby, yeah, I guess she's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, she's either dead or attack.
Yeah, pretty much. The other highlight of that weekend was the fact that you were away at a bachelorette party and I had come to Chicago and Seth and I had gone see Fish at Wrigley Field, which was an experience. But you guys got all this new bedroom furniture. And the first thing I saw, because every apartment that I've lived in, at least since college, I take my bed frame away because I have injured myself way too many times. I've even had friends come over, specifically as one friend, her name is Lisa. I had a barbecue and she saw it. She goes, Snyder, why do you sleep on the floor? I'm like, what? She goes, no, seriously, you have a mattress and a frame and you're on the bed, box spring is on the floor. And I said, well, I just don't like the way it looks and feels, this and that. And I told you or Seth, I said, you guys are going to jam your toe on the end of that bed. I mean, because you had this massive bed frame and somebody rolled their eyes and were like, whatever. And then I think you told me like 3 weeks later, one of you did. Yeah. And the first you're like, oh, goddamn Snyder, I knew it would have happened.
To this day, that was probably 4 years ago. To this day, if I hit that thing, it like hits me in my shin, and I'm like, Snyder.
All right, good to know that you're screaming my name in the bedroom. Oh, pretty disappointing. But
at least that fail for you.
Yeah. All right. Well, you are endeavoring into something new that I want to talk about because you and I have gone back and forth, and I can't wait to place my first order. And I want to know what the name of your company is, because you had told me that you were starting something to do with candles, and I had suggested Kara's Candle Company, which then I kind of thought, like, that's funny, but you know what, Alan, that was actually kind of stupid. Obviously not a real idea. So tell us real quickly kind of what you're about, because I have some suggestions for that as well.
Oh, wow. Well, that's terrifying. I definitely remember Kara's Candles. This was at a friend's wedding. Old fashions had been had. I'm like throwing out like, a tiniest glimmer of an idea, and you jump on it and you're like, Kara's Candles. Like, well, no, you're very into on the alliteration.
Specifically, well, it was more that it was Kara's Candle Company. And before right. Because then I was like, because look, I'm not racist in the least, but then I was like, you change a couple letters around, and then I was like, what am I even saying? Like, I just try to think about marketing and everything, and I am so excited for it. So tell me more.
Well, thanks. Yeah. So the company is called Beatrix and Company. We're going by Beatrix and Co.
What does that mean?
So it's actually meaningless. I just wanted like a really good girl's name. And then I was like running through all these baby lists of like girls' names that had like websites open. And it actually turns out that Beatrice was Seth's grandmother's name, or great grandmother's name. So I landed on, I just like said it out loud, and he was like, well, that was my grandmother's name. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. So that's what it is, obviously. So didn't look any further. And
this could get sticky though if you guys have a bad breakup and you're like, goddamn, Beatrix, and then you're gonna right? People change names and stuff all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess his grandma would be coming with me. It's pretty inextricable for me at this point in time. So yeah, so it's soy candles. I make everything by myself. It's a one-woman show. But really
if I remember correctly, you have a very interesting twist, because I talked to my patients about your story because I think it's really cool. And I think it might even relate to the t-shirt you're wearing. Isn't there some meaning behind what you want it to be? Because I think this is amazing.
Oh, thank you. Well, to just like rewind the story a little bit, like the whole idea started a couple years ago when I was just like burnt out in corporate America and was kind of like, I just made all these like little tiny decisions in my life. And I like woke up one day and was like 2 miles away from where I thought I would be. And I still don't know how I got there. So I was like, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to start my own business. I'm just going to do my own thing behind the scenes. And finally I've worked on it to the point where I'm ready to start putting it out there. And the whole premise is to like basically build a better company, to be more socially engaged as a company, and to be very focused on mentorship and empowerment for women, and a lot of things that I think get lost in the translation of like corporate America to like training their young workers, that I think that we can just do better as people. So our premise is that we donate a portion of every purchase to charity, and I intend to rotate the charities monthly or quarterly, just dependent on sales and where the need in the community is. But yeah, the whole idea is to like try and start something to like do a little better and give back.
I think that's amazing. Can you add me to that charity list and maybe get a donation at some point? But if
we have strict credentials, Alan.
I believe it. Now, at one point you had mentioned that you also were interested, or at least maybe going to be giving back to more of a women's entrepreneur leadership. Is that still in the cards?
Oh, definitely. I mean, the way I've been building my business from step one is every time that I'm like looking for a vendor or a business to work with, like women-owned businesses go to the absolute top of my list. And I have some like ideas that are not totally fleshed out and are probably like a year down the road in terms of mentorship programs for potential employees. But obviously I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Yeah. Don't put the cart before the horse. Now you read way more than I ever have. I always said flushed out. Is it fleshed out, or does both work?
That's a great question. And this is actually a funny topic because I say a lot of words wrong, because I have read them a lot, but have never heard them out loud. I'm not sure if this is one of those phrases that I'm just wrong about.
I have two good statements with that. One is, I listened to The Hunger Games. I didn't read it, but I listened to the audiobook, and it was read by this lovely British author who talked about Katniss Everdeen and Peter Mellock and Gale, I forget his last name, and Forever and Ever and Ever. It was all a big, like, who is she going to end up with? And we're sitting around and my friends are talking about are you team Gail or are you team Pitta? And I said, team who? They said, Pitta. And I said, you mean Peter Mellark? And the lady, whoever I was talking to says, wait, what? I said, well, it's read by this British lady. And she says, Pitta. Because I had heard, like, Peter, like his name's Peter. He's an American guy named Peter. And apparently for a long time, however long all the books were on audiobook, I was saying the completely wrong name in my head.
Do you know what his name is now?
It's Pitta.
Did you look it up?
I did. It's Peeta. I was 100% wrong. But
I just wondered if you were just like still out there being like Pita. Who knows?
I thought it was Peter. It was like Peter, my boy Peter over there. So that was one time that I really got it wrong. And the other one actually, and I don't think you know this story, was my first ever baseball trip. And I guess I haven't really said it, but I do a baseball trip. It's the Jewish law firm of Friedman, Rosenberg, Goldstein, and Snyder. We go away every year, probably not this year. And it was my first one, and we were in Detroit. I got lucky enough to see, and I was there with your fiance, Seth, and that's obviously how I know you. And it was an Oriole game. I got to see my Orioles in Detroit. It was my first game ever with these guys. It was incredible. And there was a play that a ball got hit down in the corner, and the outfielder just took his time getting to that ball. And I was so upset. And I turned to Seth, and I go, if he wasn't so lackadaisical, that wouldn't have been a triple. Like, it would have been a double.
Yes.
And Seth looks at me and goes, because very Sethy, he's not ever going to correct you like you're an idiot. He just kind of said, I think it's lackadaisical. And I said, dude, it definitely is not. And he just goes, okay. And he didn't really care too much. So I wasn't done with this story. So I grabbed my BlackBerry at the time. And I was like, I'm going to prove this idiot how wrong he is. Laxidical. And it says lackadaisical. It came right up. It said lackadaisical. What uneducated people say when they want to say lackadaisical. And I never brought it up again, but I've also never made that mistake again.
Yeah, I'm very, you got to be careful with Seth because he will keep you on your toes. Like, if you say something, like, you better know for, like, pretty sure that it might be rooted in fact before you're, like, throwing it out there.
True. Yeah, I'm definitely going to flesh out everything the next time that I have to.
I'm going to look into this.
I'll tell you what, take a good look at a T-bone by sticking my head up a bull's ass. So, Kara, you have been one of my main trivia participants since we've been doing trivia during the pandemic, and it slowed down a little bit as life has picked up for everybody, certainly with this podcast. I appreciate it. I love having you guys on, and we always do trivia on this show, and you said, you know what? I could do the trivia. So I am curious what you have prepared for me.
Well, I started to prepare something and then stopped. I was not quite upfront with you about how far into my preparation I was, so I moved out of that pretty quickly. But I would like to do with you today, Alan Snyder.
Dr. Alan Snyder.
Dr. Alan Snyder.
Or Dr. Daddy, whatever you prefer, either way.
Broadway musical trivia.
Let's do it.
Yes. So I have 5 questions for you. I'm going to name the song, and you have to name what musical that song was in.
Okay.
And now I'm not sure how you're going to do with this because I was like, again, under the impression that you're a theater-going young man and you're going to know a lot of things. But these are not too hard, so you can definitely get them. All right. Question number 1. In what musical is the song Cell Block Tango?
Block. Fizz. Cicero. Lipschitz. It's Chicago. Get out of here.
So proud of you.
Come on.
All right. Maybe these are too easy.
Wait, that was a trivia question somewhat recently. Did you miss that week?
I must have.
Yeah, that's one of my...
I
think that musical, which I saw once on a cruise, you can watch the first 2 or 3 songs and then leave. Like the 3 highlights, and then you can leave. The rest of it's terrible.
Yeah, well, I think it just depends on the production. Like, we went and saw one in Chicago where it was like a reduced like crowd, like they didn't have the full set, and it was kind of boring. But if you see like the full on production, I feel like it's pretty fun.
Yeah, well, the cruise ship that I saw it on that had, the guy who was also serving me cocktails the next day, who was also the bingo caller, not that good.
Well, you get what you pay for. Not sure what to say about that. Okay, another easy one. We'll start off a little slower, What musical is the song I Dreamed a Dream in?
I dreamed a dream of time gone by. Wait, they made a musical out of that? Isn't that just Les Mis the movie with Anne Hathaway? No?
No, it's Les Mis the play. And fun fact, I was Fantine in the very first high school production of Les Mis nationwide.
All right, fun fact. That's another point for Daddy. Here we go.
Okay. All right. This next one is for you. So do not let this fail. What musical is the song Good Morning Baltimore in?
Good morning, Baltimore. I've never seen it, but it's Hairspray. I did know that.
Yeah. You should see it. It's great.
Don't care.
Okay. All right. Well, you're rocking right through these. Let's ratchet it up a little bit.
Ratchet it up?
Is that not a thing either?
I only know ratchet like, damn, that girl's ratchet.
Maybe some of these are Midwest colloquialisms that you just have not come into contact with yet. I'm not sure.
All right, Cornhusker. Keep it going.
Okay. All right. What musical is the song The Lonely Goat Herd in?
No clue. I don't know. Lonely Goat Herd. So if I'm going to try to think about it.
Let me give you a hint. It involves yodeling.
I was going to say Jesus Christ Superstar, but now I don't know.
Yeah, you're way off, man.
I have no. It involves yodeling? I don't know.
Involves yodeling. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm taking the L.
All right. Do I give you the answer now?
Yeah.
So this is the musical of my childhood, The Sound of Music.
Oh, I could have
figured
figured
that out. What do you do, the marionettes?
Oh, I've never seen it.
A little play. Oh my! You've never seen The Sound of Music? Wait, actually, I should say Seth has also never seen The Sound of Music, and we went to Austria together and stayed in Salzburg where it was filmed in like a Sound of Music-y type place.
Seth is a jerk. He's an asshole.
I watched the whole thing by myself on the plane because I was like, this is not ruining my time.
He watches so many of those movies that come out, have no purpose, and then the next year nobody's talking about them, and you're like, wait, what movie was that?
That's accurate.
Yeah, he watches a lot of garbage. I mean, he gets to some good things eventually, but it's like every movie that comes out that just happened to come out and is in the theaters for a month or two, but it had a famous, funny person, he watches every one of those.
I'll give him credit, though. Like, he's trying stuff. Like, he's getting out there being like, I'll watch whatever, like, seeing what I like or not. He's very critical of all those movies also.
Seth is the most critical person I know. He makes me look like an easy breezy person.
Possibly. Okay. All right. Last trivia question. And this one is near and very near and dear to my heart. It is, what musical is the song You Got Trouble from? You Got Trouble. I can expand a little bit if you need a hint.
Well, you say near and dear. Is it location-wise?
No.
No. Okay. Because
you would know this.
I was going to say Oklahoma, so then that's not right.
I guess Oklahoma doesn't even touch Nebraska.
Do you think
it is Midwest? All right. Okay.
Okay. They could touch, right? A little bit. I don't know.
Think so.
As far as I'm concerned, Oklahoma and Nebraska is like, Brooklyn and Queens, like they kind of make up one little island.
Well, this is a very common East Coast approach to the Midwest, so I feel like I got to call out when I see it.
All right. So you can give me a hint, but your trivia is fantastic. I just don't know this one, or you can give me a hint and maybe I get it.
All right. You Got Trouble right here in River City. Is that ringing any bells?
Nah, but I'm glad. That'll probably give it up to some of our listeners. So
it's The Music Man.
Okay, I've never. They're actually reviving it with Hugh Jackman. It's coming out. It was already supposed to come out.
I know this. Yes, it's a great song about how buying a pool table will send the town to hell.
That's the premise of the show.
That's the premise of that song.
Of that song. All right. Well, I was never going to get that. If I would have thought a little bit harder, I might have gotten Sound of Music. But I got 3 out of the 5, and that was a really good job. You are a quiz master lieutenant general because I'm the general.
I'll take it.
Very good. Great job.
I can roll with that. Thanks.
That was amazing, Mbop. So I think we should start to wrap this up. And before we do, I just want to make sure that I also am so curious, what is on your shirt? It's elect what?
Oh, elect women.
Motherfucker. This was not what I was getting at. No, forget voting in women. The whole point that I thought your company was about was elect women. I couldn't see it said women. I wanted you promote women because you are.
Oh, I personally believe that very, very deeply. But no, my company is not involved intimately with electing women yet.
Your company?
Yes.
Okay. I guess, yeah, I guess it's just part of who you are. So
Wait, I'm just confused. Do you think you know more about my company than I do?
no. I always thought I know more about you than you do. I thought that was,
Oh, okay.
I thought that your company was very women based. And I thought when Elect Women kind of goes, like if that said Bellatrix and Company on the back, it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, I mean, that's my vibe, but yeah, no, I'd love to.
Am I completely missing that your company has this like feminine, no, power?
That's true. Yes, that's true.
So
That's our vibe for sure.
how is that worse than your shirt that says Elect Women?
It's not. I'm just saying this is not for my company.
I get it, but it goes with the theme of it.
It does. It definitely does.
All right. So you have an Instagram that I highly recommend people check out because your artwork is like nothing else. You do a very, very good job. Spell it for the listeners.
Thank you. It is Beatrix and Co. So I'm like pulling up a list so that I can look at it while I'm saying the letters, like just in case.
I can do it. It's Beatrix and AND Co. Right?
Yes.
All right, there you go. That's your Instagram. And then your website for people to order candles.
Yes, it is not live yet, but if you go to the website, www.beatrixandco.com, you can join our email list, and then you'll be in the know as soon as we launch.
Let's do it. And I hope that you come out with some scented candles and name them something cool. And a daddy candle would be something amazing. And I can't wait to place my first order for a Booze Your Daddy something. You would never do that with your women thing, but
probably not.
Probably not.
I'll take that under advisement, Alan.
Oh my God, you're definitely not doing that. Well, I'm excited to do that. I appreciate everybody who listened to this episode. Let's keep blowing this up because I'm having a great time. And Kara, I didn't get to half the things I wanted to talk to you about. So I'm going to have you back at some point. I love you so much. Thank you so much for coming on.
Such a joy.
Daddy out.